thanks to the Hindus learning English, they had started occupying positions in the colonial establishment, while the traditional conservative position of the Muslim institutions said we will never learn English, and therefore they stayed behind. He realized that if this were to continue, then Hindus would be back in positions of power, and the only way for this to change is for Indian Muslims to start learning English. That's why he set up what was previously known as the Muhammadan Anglo-Oriental College, which you know as the Aligarh Muslim University, in 1875. That explains why Jinnah was like this, because Muhammad Iqbal, Jinnah, all of these people were, let's say, they shared the thought process of Syed Ahmed Khan. Therefore, the outer look, so to speak, or the dressing, so to speak, could be modern or could be European. But the mentality hasn't changed and the mindset hasn't changed.
So this is...
Firstly, I mean, hearing what Dr. Jain had to say and Brother Sai had to say, I think you got the title of this session wrong. I thought we were going to speak about decolonization broadly, but I think it should have been, why Islam is a threat to the world, because that's what seemed to be coming out. Brother Sai very lightly dismissed what he said was my false equivalence between...
I don't think it's about Islam. I don't think we've managed to give anyone any room for playing the victim here. I think we're just talking religion, and
Islamic ends within a European paradigm. Therefore, this gentleman visits England in 1869, comes back and then decides that I will set up this institution, where he too was a fan of the English ways and European ways. In his letters to
in fact, he decried the 1857 War of Independence.
No.
He called the people who fought the British as haramzadgi.
Exactly. So why? Until 1854, in his first book called Asarus Sanadid, which is his first book on the monuments of Delhi, he celebrates Dehlvi and Barelvi, both of whom were the forefathers of the Wahabi movement, until 1847, which is his first book. By 1847, what happens? Punjab is now in the hands of the English after the 1846 war, the Third Anglo-Sikh War. So then he starts changing his tune, and the portion where he celebrated the achievements of the Wahhabis, he has it removed by 1854. And then he starts preparing what is known as the defense of Islam, because by then, the Wahhabi movement had effectively made the entire Muslim community as disloyal in the eyes of the British. So that's when he starts his first book called The Causes of the Indian Revolt. It's called Asbab-e-Bagawat. That's the first book. And then he starts that. By 1870, he's effectively decided, the only way for me to survive in the modern era is to be able to liaise with the British, because thanks to the Hindus learning English, they had started occupying positions in the colonial establishment, while the traditional conservative position of the Muslim institutions said we will never learn English, and therefore they stayed behind. He realized that if this were to continue, then Hindus would be back in positions of power, and the only way for this to change is for Indian Muslims to start learning English. That's why he set up what was previously known as the Muhammadan Anglo-Oriental College, which you know as the Aligarh Muslim University, in 1875. That explains why Jinnah was like this, because Muhammad Iqbal, Jinnah, all of these people were, let's say, they shared the thought process of Syed Ahmed Khan. Therefore, the outer look, so to speak, or the dressing, so to speak, could be modern or could be European. But the mentality hasn't changed and the mindset hasn't changed.
So this is where
Can I just make one
Okay,
addition?
quick one, before I get Ali in.
Yes. Sai talked about Syed Ahmed Khan. So Syed Ahmed Khan, when he realized that the electoral principle is going to be introduced by the British, he told the British that we were the former rulers, so we should be given weightage according to our former position, not our numerical strength. And the Hindus, the lower caste, should be deprived of the vote so that we are at parity. So this was what he was advocating. And he told in Meerut he addressed a meeting, and there he said he advised the Muslims never to join the Congress. And he told the Congress and the British that supposing we do not get the status that we deserve, do not forget that across the border our brother Pathans are there, and they will come at our calling and rivers of blood will flow. So, he was the father of modern separatism, but that separatism tendency was there for a long time.
Correct. Right.
And I don't know why people think that he's the maker of modern India. He was not the maker of modern India, he was the disruptor of modern India.
Right, thank you. Ali, I saw your hand being raised quite a while ago, in fact, and so I'll give you ample opportunity to, if you disagree with what Dr. Jain said and what Sai said, but let me add a couple of things to this, because to make it even more interesting. One is, do you now agree that when we talk of decolonizing, we must perfunctorily also include decolonizing or deshackling from the diktats of centuries, maybe a millennia old, or the way our way of life has been conducted or ordained or commanded through religious diktats? Because that is one colonization that seems to be taking us back rather than taking us forward. Second question is, when you look at, let us say, when you read or write history, as I'm sure you do you, because of, I'm not trying to be patronizing at all. In fact, I would ask the same to Meenakshi ji and Jay Sai as I'm asking you, and I will ask the same question to myself. Do we need to, or do we at all remove our lenses of religious predisposition or ideological predisposition? And if we don't, does that not cloud our reading and writing of history itself? I mean, the reason why I asked this is because when we were talking of, I think that Jinnah with that, with the women not wearing hijab, is, I think, is quite a powerful image, metaphorically as well as in reality, because that tells us that the moment Zia brought out or harked back to the Hudud ordinances, there was no way forward. I mean, that image of Jinnah would be absolutely forgotten, because you cannot strike out what has been commanded in the Quran or in the religious scriptures. So being a Muslim, being a practicing Muslim, would you be in two minds, or are you at perpetual war when you want to read history that is taking you forward, but at the same time, are you at war because you yourself are a practicing religious person, or you want to be, or your family is conservative? I mean, that's a general question.
Well, I mean, I was going to say...
Sorry about that, but it's a very interesting...
religious Muslim, except unless maybe you went on the beard or something, which is not quite Sharia compliant. No, but, well, a number of points here, Anand. Firstly, I mean, hearing what Dr. Jain had to say and Brother Sai had to say, I think you got the title of this session wrong. I thought we were going to speak about decolonization more broadly, but I think it should have been, why Islam is a threat to the world, because that's what seemed to be coming out. I mean, Brother Sai very lightly dismissed what he said was my false equivalence between Savarkar, Herzl, and Jinnah. Well, but he didn't respond. Maybe offline, I would be intrigued to hear why he thinks that, and I'm happy to carry this conversation about why Islam in particular is seen as the main focus of this event, of this idea of decolonization. Firstly, I'll come to your points, Anand Bhai. I'll go back to what Dr. Jain was saying earlier. So, I mean, she told this history, as did Brother Sai, about important figures, political figures, rulers, reformist movements. And you can, go back in history teleologically and draw a linear kind of narrative saying that basically such a religion, and you can do it for virtually any religion, right? I mean, there is a history to be told, whether it's Hinduism, even whether it's Sikhism, whether it's Judaism, whether it's Christianity, there is in a way that the history of the world is a history of violence. That is a fact. These